This was 2009. I was pregnant with my second, and we had the swine flu. And the viral code that everybody knew then was the H1N1. That's what everybody was talking about. And I was curious. I was like, you know what? I wonder if we had social media back then, whether, this amount of fear would have been generated then. I mean, it's impossible, right, to figure that out and know if it would have been the same. But what I can speak to is that the amount of fear that was kind of being pushed in the hospital was the same. And some of the things that I went through were kind of crazy now that I'm thinking about it. I was almost 10 years younger than I am now. And my dad's favorite thing to tell me is, Jaimee, you don't always know what you don't even know, Yep, and exactly. So, and something that I have tried so hard to do here in my clinic is educate and bring my patients along in their own process, because I think that in the general medical community, we have our own epidemic of fear driving decisions. Yep. And that's never a good platform ever to make a decision from. Yeah. But that was what was pushed on us as nurses. And I remember them coming out with this new vaccine. It was impossible for it to have been well tested.
The H1N1.
For right? H1N1 vaccine. And, they told us that it was thoroughly tested, which if you look at the timeline, that would have been impossible, like just scientifically impossible. But they started pushing it on all of us. Basically, first they played to our morality. Like, this is, good ethics. This is your responsibility. Yep. You owe it to your patients to keep them safe. You owe it to your coworkers to not get sick and then leave us short-staffed. So they played to that. Yep. Then they just outright started bullying the few of us who hadn't succumbed to or agreed to get it.
Well, I was just going to say, this last flu season, I have a patient of mine who, she's a nurse and she works in the hospital. And of course, everybody's forced to get the flu shot, but she refuses. And she has to refuse on religious grounds, basically, and fight it. And she did. And she's literally covering shifts for her coworkers who are sick. Yeah. She's the only one who hasn't missed a shift and has filled in for her coworkers who have all gotten the shot. One of the things that breaks my heart is the pressure that is placed upon both the nurses and even some doctors, that they know what is right. They know that they don't want the vaccine. They know it's not actually protecting them. It's not protecting their patients. They know the truth. Hospitals push it because there is financial incentives for the hospital. If vaccine percentages of workers, even if they work in the hospital or they work at home. I literally have a patient who works on pre-checks for insurances for elective surgeries and things like that. And she does that from home in a different state than the hospital. And they literally pressure her hardcore to take the flu vaccine. And it's like, I'm at home. Why does it matter? You're telling me the same thing you're just being told. It's almost like, no, that script doesn't work when I work from home. The script of me protecting everybody else doesn't work. You're using a script to try and make me feel bad, but I'm at home, so I put nobody at risk.
Well, but the interesting thing is, the next crazy part, which it actually just hit me when I was thinking through this time around, but they made us wear these huge buttons. I had all my coworkers had blue buttons, and it said, "I got the shot because I care." And then I think it rolled out like 2 weeks after I had been refusing it for about 2 weeks, and literally a lady sitting at the exit of the only way you could get out of the hospital by a table every day, badgering me. You need to get this. She made me sign that piece of paper. I don't know how many times. I'm like, I have already signed this, that I'm not getting this, So then they rolled out these buttons, and mine said, "I wear a mask because I care." And essentially it was a sign, like a scarlet letter, but it was essentially a big HIPAA violation on my scrubs, letting everybody know my vaccine status so that peer pressure then could play its course, and all the nurses are scared of me because I don't have the vaccine, or they're just like, "You're plain stupid," or "You're irresponsible." I mean, I was bullied for months.
You should have wrote. You should have wrote that button.
And at first I was like, I got a button, I'm cool, I'm a rebel, nobody. And then it quickly got old, and I started to feel, I don't know, they made me start questioning things. I was like, should I get this? And, nurses are inherently sacrificial people. It's like part of your DNA, your genetic code. Even nurses are signing up to go to New York because we're almost, I don't know, we almost have like weird masochist tendencies where we're like, we're going to be saviors and, save everybody. So you tell a nurse these things long enough and they're going to likely give in. Now, I was pregnant and very sassy. So I think that's probably my child is probably what saved me. But at that time, like, I didn't even know I had some like genetic mutations and different things that it would have gone very badly if I had gotten it. But regardless, I had to endure that for a long time, and it was not right. And my heart goes out. Like, I have a nurse who's like my kid sister who's working at a hospital downtown, and she's new. And man, nursing protocol is like pushed in your whole entire nursing education. And I'm like, they're going to push her into getting this. And it is not going to be well tested. And regardless if it's well tested, they're not going to give her a choice. And that's like, I don't know, both of those are big issues to me. But I don't know. I want people to know that this is history repeating itself.
Yes.
I saw where this was going to go like months ago because I lived it. Like, I already lived it once. I know fear is like what they say, the opioid of the masses, right? And so like you push people long enough and hard enough, and sometimes they just kind of like mentally give up. I'm like, okay, if we can just get everything back to normal, we'll do whatever you want us to do, But I'm already concerned because our medical population, like, we don't have enough nurses already. We don't have enough doctors already. It's a struggling field. There's not enough people.
And you're concerned because, and I want to clarify so that everybody else understands this, you're not scared because we don't have enough nurses to handle COVID or coronavirus. No. You're scared because you don't have enough people who are going to stay within that profession when there are sick and suffering people in this world. Much of it self-inflicted or inflicted by the environment that our society places upon economic, statuses and just, basically. Well,
I'm very concerned that this vaccine that I know is going to come down the pipeline is not going to be well tested, is going to have the same effects that it did on a lot of doctors and nurses. I mean, if you look up the havoc that was wreaked off of this first set of people who were basically tested upon, with this first H1N1 vaccine, there's a lot of them lost their jobs because they could not function after getting the vaccine. They had all sorts of neurological issues, even anything from narcolepsy to muscle weakness. And I mean, like, when you're a surgeon, you have muscle weakness in your hands, you're done. Yeah. And so I'm concerned that, I'm concerned for our whole population, but I'm concerned for these frontline people who have already given so much, who have like put themselves in harm's way, maybe, but then they're going to, be almost demonized for not
taking and accepting a vaccine. But I've got articles from way back in the early 2000s that said that like less than 40% of medical physicians and nurses would accept a flu vaccine. And then it was within a matter of a few years that they they basically, through lobbying efforts from the pharmaceutical industry, they lobbied to push for regulations and reimbursement policies for Medicare. Medicare makes up a large portion of the reimbursement to hospitals. And I forget if it's like 3 or 4%. If the hospitals didn't reach a certain percentage of vaccination rates with the influenza vaccine, that was their monitoring, that was their statistic, then it would be 4%, possibly 3%. I can't quote exactly because it's been a long time since I read that, those bills. But that basically made a hospital see that, and that's upon all reimbursement. That's not for vaccines. That's for any foot surgery, any emergency department, it doesn't matter. Anything the hospital does, that would equate to millions to billions to trillions of dollars nationwide in the hospitals if this hospital does not force their employees a certain percentage to get that vaccine.
Oh yeah,
so
and
it's not about,
it's a quota game.
Yeah. So it's like, if doctors and nurses weren't willing to willfully and accept the vaccine and desire to want it, that should have told everybody in society that something is wrong here. If the people who are saying they're the ones who are supposed to be administering these measures, vaccines, whatever it may be, they're not even willing to accept it themselves, and they have to be forced to accept it. That should call into question vaccines in themselves. If you as a nurse and you won't willingly, you have to be forced. It's like,
and I'm not, obviously, again, my genetic code is to want to help people. Never would I ever want to put my patients in danger. But do you know that I did wear a mask faithfully, and I washed my hands faithfully, and I was the only one in that unit that did not fall sick to flu for several years running. And I'm the one that had to work harder, to make up for when we were short staffed. And so I don't feel like I was irresponsible. I don't feel like I put my patients in danger, but I was like, man, the mental fatigue from being told you are, it wasn't right.
You should have put on your button. You should have put on your button that wearing a mask is the only thing validated by peer-reviewed scientific evidence to reduce your risk as a patient of contracting an illness from me.
Yeah.
Flu vaccines have not been shown. You look at Cochrane database of systematic reviews, you look at the meta-analysis of the research on influenza vaccines, they do not show. Time and time again, you vaccinate every single staff member in a nursing home, and guess what they found? There was no reduction in influenza-related illnesses or pneumonia deaths. So it's like the science does not support it. So it's like everybody should be wearing a mask if you wanted it. And that's when you're in direct contact with patients who are extremely susceptible. That is a barrier. That is logical. You know what I mean? Because somebody with another bacterial infection then exposed to the influenza or the coronavirus, and coronaviruses is a class of viruses. It's not a single virus. It's not just COVID-19, it's many. So it doesn't matter if it's rhinovirus, sinus infection, or coronavirus, or influenza. It doesn't matter. If somebody has a bacterial infection, then you introduce into their body, into their system, another virus that their body has to take care of. Of course, they're going to be at a lower potential to be able to recover.